Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina wa Nabiyina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaytanir rajim. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. وما اختلف الذين أوتوا الكتاب إلا من بعد ما جاءتهم البينات بغيا بينهم فهدى الله الذين آمنوا لما اختلفوا فيه من الحق بإذنه والله يهدي من يشاء إلى صراط مستقيم صدق الله العظيم. My dear respected brothers, my respected sisters who are also listening to this, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us come to the masjid. May Allah make it an effort that we are sincerely trying to get close to the truth, to Allah, to His Messenger, to the deen, and not to influence or allow things to influence our own thoughts and ideas. To begin with, all of us have been born as Muslims. Okay, listen to this. Most likely, most of the people who are listen to this talk, you've been born, a Muslim. Perhaps there are a few individuals who are still trying to make their, ideas about Islam and they listen to this. But most of us have been born Muslims. Being born a Muslim, you may have been born a Muslim, that's fine, but you've been born in a particular household. And being born in a particular household, your parents, my parents, they come from certain backgrounds, certain countries, and they have got certain influences and ideas, right? Within the religion. We're not talking about ideas and things of cultural baggage and so on. We're talking about within the religion they're already in different sects. Do you agree with me or not? You agree with me, right? Now, as I've been brought up, you've been brought up, we've come across a lot of stages of life. Number one is our parents, the most influential people that we've got in our lives. Number two is our neighborhood, our close people to our parents, uncles, aunties, grandfathers, grandmothers and so on. They're very influential and they have a very big impact on our lives. In fact, they have the impact on our life when we can't even distinguish between right and wrong. It's a very important point I'm bringing up, right? 5 years of our life, when you can't even think what's on, where you are, these people are already teaching you what you're supposed to be doing, not doing, who you're supposed to befriend and not befriend and so on. Okay? Then we come to the madrasa life. In the madrasa life, depending on what masjid you've gone to, depending on what imam has taught you, they will also have a bearing on your understanding. Right? That's going to be the second massive impact. And they say there's three types of people. There's a type of person that you give him no evidence, he'll accept everything. There's another type of person, you tell him something, he won't accept it until you give him the evidence. And there's a third type of person, you tell him something, he doesn't accept it, you give him the evidence and he still doesn't accept it. Alright? The first one who accepts your saying without evidence is the child. Without doubt, we can all agree to that. The child will accept whatever you say, especially in terms of religion. You teach him something, he'll just gonna say, okay, fine, I'll just do it. You say this is the right way, he'll say that's it, that's the right way. And there shouldn't be no confusion with children, in terms of this, that, and so on. But anyway, second type of person is the youngster, the teenager, the one who is in mid-age. Yeah, all these different categories. Basically, I'm talking to you guys. Right? Will you give them the evidence? Then they'll accept it. You don't give no evidence, they can say, can't take that. Right? The third type of person who doesn't even accept it after giving the evidence is no offense to anyone who's at that age, but our chachas. Right? Some of our uncles, they get to a certain age, doesn't matter what evidence you give them, they say, 14 centuries, my whole granddad, my great-grandfathers, all of them have been hearing hadith. We never heard this kind of hadith, all right? So you take it back. So you've got these type of people. Now what we're really concerned about is the middle one. Because the middle one is, if given the correct evidence, they will accept whatever we've got to offer them. Now, as we move forward, what I don't want you to do by listening to this is to sit in one place and expect me to reach your conclusion. That's going to be the biggest disservice you can do to me and to any other person who's going to cover this topic. If you're going to come to this lecture and you're listening because you want to know how right you are, then that's going to be a big trouble for me. Because I seriously can't satisfy everyone. I can't say, you're right, everyone's right. End of the day, you'll all be spitting back at me saying that you're wrong. How can we all be right? Right? So, first thing is, you've got to first move your own prejudice away. You've got to set aside, what you've got to set aside is, what you got by the age of 10, by the age of 12, by the age of 14, whether it's at home, whether it's at the madrasa, wherever you've got to first put that aside and listen to me with a clear ear. You've got to give me a chance to try and say, and not just me, myself, and I speaking to you, it's whatever I say from the Quran and the Sunnah. Okay, you've got to basically have a clear mind and listen to this. You cannot put another sheikh's quotation, another fatwa in front of you, another culture in front of you, another, this parents and that thing and that all in front of me and say, but you're wrong. You can't do that. That's injustice. That's injustice to knowledge. Okay? We've got to go back to the original authority of Sayyidina Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And I'm telling you, by the time I've finished, there's going to be some of you, perhaps many of you, basically everyone's going to have something saying, scratching your head saying, but I never believed in that before. How come he's saying that to me? And how can he have the same skin color as me and talk like that? Yeah? Or how can he be from my background and talk like that? Or how can he do this and come to this masjid and say that? Al-Ayad Billah. I did say to Brother Shafiq as well, you better consult Maulana Mufti Sadruddin Sahab, right? That I'm going to be talking about this. And if he's okay with it, I'll talk about it. Because the issue is not a light issue. You've got to go into groups. You've got to talk about their history. You've got to talk about where they come from, or who's right, who's wrong, and so on. It's not an easy issue to deal with, right? And I'm just going to, deal with it straight up. And I'll be honest with you. It might bring it. You might ask me, what have I done? I'm probably already influenced by my parents, right? Yeah. See, you guys are quite clever. See, I'm influenced by my parents. I'm influenced by my Maulvi Sahib. And he beat me up and taught me a few things I better not forget. I tell you what I haven't forgotten from him, his beats. All right? But I tell you, there's been an advanced stage in my life where I have always been open-minded to the best of my ability. With the Quran, with the Sunnah, I've done my best to keep my mind open. I've challenged my teachers. I've challenged them several times over and over again. There was a time in my studies when I was a bit too young to challenge them, and I got the bit dirty looks. Bedab. Hasn't got any manners. What he speak about. Yeah. There's a time when you go through that phase, when they don't give you respect for what you're saying. But I'd already made my mind up that the truth cannot be what I'm seeing here. And then I went on towards my studies, and when you get a bit more mature, then they take you a bit more seriously. The same things you're saying to different teachers, but you get a bit more mature, they take you a bit more seriously. And then as I've been going along, I've been challenging my own views with several different views that are out there. Because what you end up realizing is, I'll be honest with you, one of my teachers said a wonderful thing once. He said, whatever you do in life, he said, don't become the frog in the well. We said, Ustad, what is the frog in the well? So he said, the frog in the well is a frog who's lived all his life comfortably in one well, where the waters in that well have come up to just his arms and his comfortable, small, tiny, shiny legs, right? And he's sitting there just living off a few things that in this little well right at the bottom. One day there's a bit of a tsunami, and what happens is that this tsunami hits a big tidal wave, and it throws